Okay, folks, here's the deal with emotions. Now, to understand emotions and how they work, you have to understand one very simple principle. So simple I can put it in 3 words. Emotions are information. And this information wants to be received. Every feeling, every emotion is information that is meant, in a sense, to be transmitted to our fellow human beings. In the state of nature, it's easier to see. Imagine a troop of monkeys, and one of the monkeys sees a jaguar up in the trees with them. Jaguars eat monkeys. This is bad news. So, the monkey cries out in fear. Other monkeys of the troop hear this and immediately look at the monkey, and then look to see what's scaring the monkey. They see the jaguar. They cry out. Soon the information has spread through the entire monkey troop, and it goes from a situation of one monkey being in danger from one jaguar to the entire troop of monkeys rallying and actually throwing things at the jaguar to convince it to go the hell away. Thus, the transmission of that first piece of emotional information has actually saved the lives of the entire troop. Now, imagine a child. A very small child, 3, 4 years old, maybe 5, and they're playing happily, but then they stumble and fall and bruise themselves. This child is sad and upset right now, but their mother is not immediately around, so they don't cry yet. Their eyes fill with tears and they immediately go off in search of their mother, but they don't actually cry until she can see them. Why? Because they're looking for a soothing response, and so they're holding that emotion. They're keeping it in check until they can transmit it to their primary caregiver. And then they get soothing and reassurance and calm down. Now, this is true for us naked beach apes for our entire lives. This never stops. It becomes more complicated than it is with a small child because as civilized human beings, we learn to suppress our emotions and not immediately just express them however, wherever. And this is actually extremely necessary for anything like civilization to happen. I mean, even extremely primitive civilizations require self-restraint, for lack of a better term. But this gives us the problem of repression. We go from repressing certain emotions at certain times to getting into a pattern of never really expressing those emotions in the first place. So, as adults in the modern, confusing society, we repress our emotions to the point where the backlog, that space where the child was putting the crying until it got to its mother, gets very, very full. And we have a lot of emotions that want to be expressed. But the line is so long by now, and we've gotten so into the habit of just pushing everything down and getting on with things that we often don't even realize that these emotions are there. We just know that we're not happy, we just know that we're depressed or angry or unsatisfied or tense. Stress can be defined as basically the product of unexpressed emotion. And we all know that stress kills. That's why, to take a commonplace example, that's why when your mate comes home from work, they want to tell you all about their day, everything that happened. Because during the course of a working day, you're going to have a lot of emotions essentially that you can't express or can't really express. And so you come home and you spill out the whole day in order to get all those emotions out. Afterwards, you feel better because the cycle has been completed. Someone close to you has received the emotional information. Then the emotion can be released. This is also how therapy works. You talk to your therapist and you talk about the things that have the most suppressed emotion attached to them. This is often things from your childhood, because those are the things that both happened when you were a lot more vulnerable and have been there so long that they've accumulated a lot of emotional energy just from building up pressure behind it. That brings me to the dam. Imagine a dam. Now, the people who built this dam did it to hold back water. And of course, for a while, it does a great job of that. But eventually the dam builds up so much pressure behind it that it just bursts. Devastates the local town. And after they've picked themselves out of the wreckage and said, this can't go on any longer, they build a much taller, much stronger dam. But of course, the pressure still builds up behind it. And when it goes, it takes out the whole county, because by making it taller and stronger, you simply allowed it to accumulate more energy behind it. And say, for the sake of argument, they do this 4 or 5 more times. Each time it's bigger and stronger, and each time it just leads to a worse dam burst. This is what emotional repression is like. You try and suppress everything, but the energy accumulates behind it. The emotion desperately wants to be expressed, and the longer you suppress it, the harder it's going to try to be expressed. That's why the proper dam, and the ones you actually see in the world as opposed to this theoretical stupid dam, have a gate in front, and that gate lets water through. Now, one might ask, well, if the entire point of the dam is to hold water back, why let any of it through? But, as you can see from my previous examples, it's because otherwise the pressure would build up and the dam would burst. That is how an emotionally healthy person operates. They let out enough of the emotions that they have accumulated in a given time so that equilibrium is maintained. That means that they have an emotional outlet. That means that they have a way of releasing those emotions. Now, there's a bunch of different strategies. Some do it through exercise, some do it through cathartic art, like watching a sad movie or a scary movie or a funny movie, but that helps release the emotional energy behind. It still doesn't express the emotion, but at least takes the pressure off. Other people, it's writing about it or having long phone conversations with their friends where they go through every single moment of their day. But the point is, they have somewhere for all this to go. Now, emotionally unhappy people, they're not keeping up. And as this emotional blockage grows, it takes over more and more of the person's mental resources. So they find themselves becoming less and less able to cope, less and less able to function, and yet because they don't know why this is, they don't do what's necessary, which is to find a way for the emotion to come out. In the worst case scenarios, eventually it comes out in the same way that if you were to stop going to the bathroom, what we usually go to the bathroom for would come out. Eventually it's going to come out involuntarily, messily, and at the worst possible moment. And so you have people who have emotional breakdowns, people who have anger issues because that's how they vent their emotions. You have people who go into suicidal depressions. You even, in very extreme cases, have people who hold everything in and then one day go crazy and shoot up an office or something horrible like that. All because they lack a sufficient emotional outlet. We treat our emotions, especially men, we treat our emotions like we can hold an infinite amount of them back. And that somehow this makes us more of a man. But I'm telling you right now, my fellow men, if you don't find a way to let your emotions out, or at least the emotional pressure out, you are going to end up way less of a man. You're going to become someone with anger problems, you're going to become someone with depression, you're going to become someone with a drinking problem, where in that case you're not releasing the emotions, you're simply sedating them. It's going to happen. This is the price we pay for not being able to handle our emotions properly. Hell, it can even lead to you having a heart attack or a stroke. Stress kills. Stress kills people all the time. It's not just a matter of psychological health, it's a matter of physical health. Get the hell over yourselves before it kills you, before it's too late. A lot of men have gone to early graves never having figured this out, and ending up with terrible relationships with their children because either they were so unemotional that they could never connect with their kids, or their only emotional release was anger, and so they were angry people, and their kids feared them and hated them, even if that was not their intention at all. Even if there was definitely a big part of them that really wanted to love their kids and nurture them and care for them and be there for them, the anger just kept getting in the way. The stakes are high. Don't ever think that just ignoring something will work forever. Just pretending something doesn't bother you will work forever. You will run out of room for those emotions, and they will find a way to break through that dam. So instead of a healthy outflow of emotions roughly equal to the inflow, you get a dam burst, or you spring leaks all over. One way or another, they're going to come out, man. The only choice you have is how. So, folks, that's the deal with emotions. Every emotion is meant to convey information to others of our species. Therefore, every emotion seeks another of our species to receive it. That means that we can't just sit on our emotions all the time. That means that if we want to be psychologically and physically healthy people, you have to find a way to let that out. Otherwise, you're going to be emotionally incontinent. Nobody wants that. That's the deal with emotions, folks. Talk to you later.